the Quonset hut with barbed wire stuff and everything else like that. And then he says, is that feasible? I said, well, no, because right now the code does not allow that. And so Mr. Bowles asked if it would be all right if he came in and just showed everybody what he was talking about. I said, absolutely, we'll completely entertain any offer. So we went to the planning commission, we had a workshop where pretty much it's going to be the same thing as you did tonight. And then the planning commission, the next meeting, 2 weeks later, talked about it some more. And they come to the conclusion that there's no conclusion. So certainly, with all the code work and amendments and everything else, you guys being a legislative body, we're not here to ask them what you vote, because we don't know, both from a permitting standpoint also, we want to get you in that position. But I thought it would be very useful for you, the council, to participate a little bit in my planning world and see what comes across the desk. I think this is a very intriguing idea. He's got some exciting news, and I'll tell you the feedback process on the planning commission was excellent. They expressed some great reservations, and Mr. Wolf went back to the drawing board, took their inputs and reworked his whole project. And so today, he's here to kind of explain what's going on. Lisa Klein, our contract planner, will be here at about 6:45. There's some technical aspect to this that I want her here for you guys to ask questions. So the text amendment and how the code process would or wouldn't work, I think you guys need to hear that as well. But with all the traffic and everything else, we'll let Mr. Bolt start off, and you're welcome to take questions, right?
Absolutely. Feel free to ask questions as they come up. The first thing that I like to...
Because this is actually recorded so people that aren't here can actually listen to it.
Great. Well, the first thing I wanted to say is thank you for taking the time and listening to my presentation. Something I always like to address up front, because I've been doing this in development self-storage for 11 years. And so I've been to a number of pre-application meetings and things of that nature. And one of my favorite things is when I go in and I talk about, hey, this is what I do and this is what I'm proposing. And it usually starts out with people with a lot of sort of blank looks on their face, and then I usually get a comment like, this looks way too nice to be self-storage, or this looks nicer than some of our office buildings, different things like that. I'm always really flattered to hear that. So one thing I always like to get out there is the perception of storage is, outdoor boats and RVs, mostly drive-up exterior access units, and kind of a large gated sprawling compound that covers around 5 acres or so. That's not what I'm doing, certainly not what I'm proposing on this particular site. We're in the very early stages of this, so there's a lot that I haven't done. I haven't gone to the neighborhood association and really invested the time and effort to building and designing a structure that would really fit in architecturally and complement DuPont and fit in well and be an asset to the downtown area. However, I included a couple of site photos from existing projects, which I've passed out for you to take a look at. So, the type of building that we would look for on this would be probably a 3-story, no more than 4-story. It would have very few, if any, exterior access doors, covered secured loading bay. We try and make the building beautiful, and certainly in a location like Center and McNeil, it would be an absolute must. It would really be a beautiful building. We try and build them honestly in a way that they don't really look like storage. They look like that they fit in with the surrounding community. So I've included a couple photos. The one on the top that you're looking at is one that's an existing facility in Columbia City in Seattle. It uses kind of a glass facade in front for more of a retail-looking walk-up storefront. I also included one that's in Lake Oswego, Oregon, and one that is in Vancouver, Washington. So it kind of shows you that we're able to have some flexibility in how we design it so it looks really good in the community that we're building in. We don't have a big box with bright orange doors, and that's our only store design. We're able to sort of flex and do it in such a way that it really looks nice. So that's the first thing I'd like to cover. Secondly, as I had mentioned, this would require a text amendment to the code. Presently, it is zoned, this piece of property is zoned mixed use, which does not allow storage, does not allow self-storage as either a permitted or a conditional use. Under the present code of the city of DuPont, land has to be zoned light industrial. So, more of sort of a destination. A question that's come up, and I think it's a fair question, is we've got a bunch of light industrial land. Why don't you go build storage there where it's already permitted? Why are you want to be in the downtown corridor paying a higher price for it? And I think it's a fair question. One of them is that we have found that a really good tenant for us, a tenant that works well. We do a lot of business to business sales. We do a lot of business tenants. We really cater our operation to that in some of our locations, and I certainly see this as something that DuPont would fit under. Business owners, people in trades, plumbers, electricians, locksmiths, businesses such as that will use us actually as their primary mailing address. They can receive material, receive mail, use it as a place to stock some inventory, and kind of operate out of our location versus out of a home location. It gives a little more credibility as a business. So that's one of the factors, is we feel that a location such as this will be more attractive for that type of clientele. The other thing is, we, in the past 11 years of running various stores, we always ask people, hey, how'd you hear about us? We do internet advertising, we do direct mail, phone book. 85% of our business is drive-by. So having a good location is very accretive to our business. What we are proposing in this is not to use the entire, we do have retail sales as a pretty large component of our business. We do a lot of box and moving supply sales. However, it is still not the primary focus of our business. So what we would be proposing would be to bring in a significant retail component as part of this project. As I'm sure many of you know, this property has been marketed for some time, and retailers have not been able to come up to the price point that the seller needed to sell this property. One of the things that came up when we met with the planning committee is they sort of apologetically said, we love what you're doing. We want you to do business in DuPont. Would you consider building in our light industrial area? However, this is our last piece of real estate in the downtown corridor. We really feel like we should hold out for, they listed a couple of things. We really think we should hold out for a boutique grocery or an Ace Hardware. And I listened to that, and we contacted the person who looked at this for an Ace Hardware. And what I went to them and said is, listen, if I can make this very affordable, very attractive for you, would you consider going into DuPont? And he had a couple of little reservations about it, which we're addressing. But one of them said, he said, well, I really prefer to own my real estate. I said, no problem. Condominiumize, sell you your real estate so you can be an owner. And in fact, I'll sell it to you I'll sell it to you for cost, so that you can come in here. So we would be looking, right now, that is our primary focus, working with him. I met with him today in Oregon to go over this, and he's doing some research into it, but he would take on the site plan, and this is just a preliminary, I can almost guarantee it will change when we go through this process of planning and site layout. But we would be looking at locating hardware store. He's now beginning his due diligence on it. It would be located on the southwest side of the building. So basically the opposite side and here, the opposite side from our retail office. I feel that would be the best traffic flow from him. One of the questions that he had for me, like I think any retailer, was one of access. And it would be very appealing to him if there was any possibility to obtain right in, right out off of Center Drive. That is a key factor in his decision process in whether or not this is feasible as a site for him. So anyway, that's the stage that I'm at, and just wanted to kind of initially present this to you and get any feedback, answer any questions, or see if I can provide any more information from you. You know, if this is something that you want to see more of, sort of get some idea of what it is that you're looking for and what's important to you as a community.
Go ahead.
It's on.
It's on.
Okay, so what kind of demographics, I mean, when you look at coming in here, how many storage units are going to be in there, and what tells you that you feel that you're going to be filling those and this is going to be a success here in DuPont?
That's a very good question. So there's a couple things that we look at. There are national demand statistics on how much storage usage people need. Positives for storage are more dense housing. So in other words, if you're looking at a community where the average lot size is 5 acres, they're going to, in general, they're going to utilize less storage than somewhere that's dense. When I look at DuPont, one of the things that I like is it's a very nice, a very well-planned master planned community. Even though there is developable land, the housing that's here is relatively dense. In terms of demographics, we're a lot less sensitive than many other businesses. In terms of median income, there's kind of a minimum threshold. The median income in DuPont is well above that. Probably the biggest factor is the square foot per capita. So when I go into a market, I look at I do demographics in a 1, 3, and 5 mile radius. I map out all of my competition and how many square footage of storage there are, and demographics information for the population that live in that area. The average saturation point nationwide is 9.6 square foot per capita. I have one store now, which is very profitable. It's in North Bend, Washington, and the current supply is 12 square foot per capita. So although it's overbuilt, the storage is still doing very well. In DuPont, there is one self-storage, DuPont heated self-storage. There are no other storages within a 5 mile radius of that store. You're present on a 3 mile radius of DuPont, and they're completely full, with rates that are quite high in terms of rental rates. The supply in DuPont is around 2.2. It's under 3. So there's an overwhelming demand. There's what we would consider pent-up here. I haven't walked around and interviewed people on a Saturday afternoon, but I would guess people are probably driving more than 5 miles just to store their stuff. So there's absolutely a demand. For me, and if someone else came in and built another one, we probably will be fine.
What are the average size of those units that you're going to have?
Oh, sure, yeah. So typically the average size of a unit runs between 75 and 150 square feet. So we offer unit sizes from 5 by 5, so the unit sizes go 5 by 5, 5 by 10, 10 by 10, 10 by 12, 10 by 15, 10 by 20, 10 by 25, 10 by 30. Typically, our average unit size, somewhere like DuPont would be between 100 and 125 square feet. So it would be, storage like this would be between 500 and 600 units.
I'm glad you're, Mandy, I'm glad you're thinking of coming to DuPont. I think it's an exciting idea. I think you'll find that for almost anything, we need to drive 5 miles. So, you know, I take that statistic with a little bit of grain of salt. But as a, you know, as a contractor that does business here in town and seeing many people's houses, you know, the quadrant houses are not provided with much storage for your towels, let alone the other stuff that gets dragged around the world. So, you know, I think that you're probably right on in research and that kind of thing. I would be leaning heavily on the planning commission in order to provide us recommendations. You know, I mean, so far as your background stuff, that's up to you. So far as if you think your business can succeed, great. I hear what they're saying about being right here on the corner in the downtown, but I recognize your need so far as being adjacent to maybe some of those, the downtown units, you know, those are probably fairly small, and they need storage also, so I get that. So far as a place that I could keep my stuff and get it out of my garage, that would be something that I would be interested in if the price was right. Been looking for that for quite some time. So on a personal level, if it were to come, you know, I may be interested in that. So maybe that adds to your need, you know, so far as plumbers and what you said earlier, that may be something that could be used here because, I mean, there's limitations on what we can do because of the association rules and that kind of thing, so it's always an issue. So far as access, the plan would really need to be looked at because I think that's a major issue that we're currently facing, not on these intersections here, but on the Wilmington side as far as coming in. I know the right turn going to McNeil is a problem. The left turn may not be so bad, but how the daycare and everybody gets into here, that would be something that I'd be very interested in hearing what their thoughts are on traffic flows. So far as the retail question that you brought up, if they can make it work, you know, that's good for them. I think people are used to driving a long distance, and I think something closer, you know, they may be, if the price is right, they may be inclined to visit it. So I look forward to seeing how this develops. So, thanks for taking it. Thank you.
Drew, in California, in the heavy populated areas, not unusual to have a self-storage facility. However, it is very well incorporated in with the other businesses. And we do have the need to provide storage facilities for residents. So I agree with your perceptions here about us. So you are not presenting anything that hasn't been done before elsewhere. And I would like to have you talk a little bit about your other businesses, units that are located, and what kind of area are they in? Are they in the industrial? Are they in a semi-warehouse area? Are they in the main commercial retail center of the city? What kind of interaction have you had working with other councils in those particular cities that allowed then to give you the blessing to move forward?
Great question. So the other facilities that I own are, that I've been involved in the development of. The vast majority, self-storage is already permitted use. This is very unique in the sense that existing code does not allow for it as a use. Many other cities have moved to a slightly different planning model where there are a greater number of permitted uses where they just look at things a little bit differently. That's kind of an evolution, I think. One that I've noticed, at least as a real estate developer over the past few years. I have the very first facility that I developed 11 years ago looks very similar to self-storage that you have in DuPont. It's lots of roll-up doors. We've built some RVs. I tell you, I have developed those type of storage facilities. One I'm presently working on in my business model and what I've learned over those years. I've really tried to integrate myself more as I've found, yes, we're in the business of storing stuff, but we deal with the retail customer. People like somewhere that's conveniently located, that they can drive through, that they can drive to regularly, that's on their normally sort of travel routes. A project that I'm working on right now, we're actually under construction. It's a bit to the north, it's in Auburn, and it's located right on A Street, as you can imagine, a major street in Auburn. Directly, it's between a car wash and an auto parts store. It has a traffic count of 27,000 cars per day, average cars per day traffic count. There's a number of banks, Starbucks, shopping centers nearby, and we're really sort of trying to move towards that sort of a model. We find our customers appreciate it, I'm trying to think of a different way to say this. You attract a higher quality tenant when you have a higher quality product. More business users, more, there's people that live in sort of nicer neighborhoods and so forth they want to be, in a nicer location. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but that's just more of sort of what I'm looking for this year.
I really appreciate your looking at offering other retail possibilities within your building structure there. You mentioned the possible hardware, the variety store as well. Look around the city, which you probably have already. What would be the needs of our city in order to provide another retail feature in addition to the self-storage? The hardware store is a possibility. I myself, a variety store where you can go on in and what it is, a variety of retail items. Do some thinking along the lines of what can you come forth with as a proposal in that particular area to fit our needs. We're not going to have a super grocery store type structure here in DuPont. It's not in the cards. We try to Lacey, or we go to over in Lakewood area and whatnot. So, but other smaller type retail. A bakery was not successful here. They folded shop. So a bakery didn't work. I think there was some internal management problems there with the husband-wife partnership. I don't know. But here again, that was a different type of venue coming up. So I would encourage that very much. I like that. The uniqueness is what is going to be attractive to you. The uniqueness of what you are offering DuPont in structure, something that is beautiful, something that is going to provide a service storage as well as opportunities for other types of retailers to come on in and help our business area, our commercial area. And from what you have said, it sounds like you're very sensitive to that. You're not going to put up like the old style storage facility. This is going to be something that is really going to be a showpiece for down here in South Sound. I do not know of anything of this nature in Lacey. There could be, but I'm not aware of it. So I'm looking for something that's really super unique and well-designed, well-thought out, and blends on in with the type of style that DuPont, we have a vision on what that area should look like. We had someone was interested in the possibility of a church in that area. And here again in California, you have churches in business areas and retail areas, so it's not that unusual to have these other sorts of uses for land and so on. I'm excited about the possibility that you present to us.
Yeah, if I could, let me add real quick, hold this picture up. This goes back to your question of, where are some of these locations? This one is something you all might be familiar with. If you've ever been on the link, the light rail there out of the airport, the Tuckahoe Station, when you go through Columbia City, that's the place with all the weird colored buildings with the patchwork. You can actually see this from the train. So that's in with apartments, it's in with grocery stores, restaurants, it's right in the middle exactly what you're asking.
And you grew up in Auburn,
Ian Park.
didn't you live there for a period of time, so you know where 8th Street is at?
Oh, I know where HB is. I went to boarding school there.
Very informal.
Are you done, Martin? Okay. Drew, question I had, I'm excited about the potential. We have a process, so the process is going to take place as we've discussed. I'm excited about the opportunity to get Nick's Hardware. That's one of a list of a short list of things that I personally would use. So I think that if that's an opportunity that comes to fruition, that's great. You mentioned businesses will use that as a place to receive mail, and I get that, particularly in in-home business. Is it feasible for businesses to operate out of a storage unit?
Absolutely. That's something that we see now in terms of them setting up shop and running an office where they see clients and stuff. I would say, no, that's not something that we would allow. The building is not permitted with that type of occupancy. However, one of the things that we do see, I'm just thinking through, tenants that I know of that we have in some of our other locations. We have all the regular trades, if you think of plumbers, electricians. One of our units, we actually have a custom cabinet maker, where he's set up a sort of a wood shop.
So he's able to do work. I mean, we have a embroidery business in DuPont that owner has spoken to us many, many times about the high price of shop space in town and our very high lease rate. So, there are people like that out there that would utilize it. But the following of my question, because we've dealt with this recently here, is if you have 500 to 600 units, so you potentially have 500 to 600 addresses. Obviously, that's not going to get to that, but you could have a bunch of addresses. I'm not sure that DuPont falls into the U.S. postal system. It might be a unique postal system, but there have been some challenges in getting mail to businesses. We just overcame one of those recently. But that would be, in this process, that would be something you would probably need to engage the city and the post office early on. If that was something you had in mind, I would just offer to you that an early engagement with our postmaster in DuPont would be something that could help you along the way.
That actually is part of the process whenever you have private mailboxes, which is how these are. I don't know that it's called licensing, but you do kind of have to get the postmaster's blessing, if you will, to do this. It's not something that is permitted at all locations. It's something that we, look at, and I wouldn't see anywhere near 400 or 500 private mailboxes or something like this. I would imagine it would be limited to, a number probably more closer to 50.
And we were just successful in advocating on behalf of the recent ownership of the former Intel campus. And they've got in some external clients, and they had, for a variety of reasons, need for on-site mail delivery. And it took some negotiations with the post office to get to a point where they could get, don't chuckle at me like that. But it was a challenge. We got done what they needed to get done. But I just say that that's a unique aspect of this process.
Thank you.
Councilmember Handler.
Two quick questions. How many square feet do you envision the retail space actually being?
Sure.
That's the first one. I'll let you second.
Yeah, so there's kind of two portions to the retail space. So our retail space is relatively small. It's somewhere around 1,200, 1,300 square feet, something along those lines. When I spoke to the gentleman who operates Ace Hardware, he still has to do some homework to see where this fits, but they kind of separate stores into three categories. One being a neighborhood store, which is roughly 5,500 square feet of interior space. If you've been through an Ace Hardware, they'll often have plants and a little bit of merchandise outside. But 5,500 square feet of interior space, or a core store, which is about 7,000 square feet. The third size is, a mega store, and those are much, much larger. We know with absolute certainty that DuPont would not support a mega Ace Hardware. There's very few of them in the nation. They're more like the large McNeils, where they're closer in size to Lowe's than a neighborhood size store. So I guess the short answer to your question is, if I had to guess at this, I would probably say 7,000 square feet for the hardware store and 1,300 square feet for my retail space. However, I can tell you that based on the amount of, within my business, the amount of retail activity that we move through 1,200 square feet is a much, much, much higher dollar per square foot. Because we're, dealing with fairly large average ticket sale. We've got an 80,000 square foot building driving the sales for a 1,200 square foot, space, and doing an awful lot of turns during the day. Our dollar per square foot is, and I thought our dollar per square foot was high until I found out what Ace Hardware's do within a year. So in terms of total square footage, we're probably looking at about 8,500. But based on dollar volume of what projections I've gotten for what I know my retail sales do and what I've heard from that Ace Hardware does, it's a much larger dollar volume than you think of coming from that relatively small size of square foot.
So this is a spot that's attractive to Ace Hardware. They're obviously looking into it.
It wasn't attractive enough that they bought the site at full price to do a standalone Ace Hardware. I'm making it attractive for them. It's a market that they don't feel supports the price of a standalone Ace. So it would require to be a mixed-use project.
And then my second question is, what kind of crime, burglary, vandalism do you see at these kind of sites? Because we're talking about putting a lot of people's valuable stuff on a pretty high-speed avenue of approach escape. So
Yeah.
do you typically see some type of uptick, or what's the effect? Is it a magnet of any crime types what I'm getting at?
Yeah. Let me kind of answer that question Socratically. You don't seem like a criminal type to me. So you gotta take yourself out of that. That's why I asked you to say. But imagine that you decided, you know what, I don't want to work for the city anymore. I think I want to go into a life of crime. And you've got a choice. Choice number one. Nice, well-lit, modern facility. Got about 40 cameras on this site, recorded 24 hours a day. Hallways, movement, access. You've got your own RFID card, so we know when you're coming in, when you're leaving. We know who you are, what your store, you got your name. By the way, we even have a copy of your license. We require that all of this stuff in your store to be insured. So that's choice A. Put all your stolen goods. Choice B is a facility that's in the back of a more industrial zone, dark, maybe not as well lit, traffic count of maybe 1/100th, not 1/1000th, option number A. And option number C is, I don't know, maybe Lakewood, and it's a gravel lot, fence, very dark, prefabricated shed. I guess what I'm getting here at is someone's not going to choose a high-end, nice. They're going to want their activities to be done in secret. And so those are some self-storages a magnet for that sort of stuff? Sure. Those people are natural. They're just not going to choose ours.
Based on security features and lighting.
Lighting, security features, price, manager. It's just going to be a really quick way. Unless, of course, they're in their life of crime, they really just want to get caught and get out of it. In which case, I suppose they don't choose that way. No, it's what I look to build is Class A storage, and I said that kind of jokingly, but what I look to build is Class A storage facilities that really cater to, and that was a little bit of what I touched on by, when you build a high quality facility, you attract a high quality tenant. It tends, the two tend to mirror one another. If you've got a lesser quality facility, you're going to have more of those sorts of issues, or you're going to have some of those issues. We haven't had any issues at any of my storage facilities. In fact, one of the interesting things, we video record everything. It's all digital video recording. And when we have had people we've had this twice now, where people have come in and said, my unit was broken into and all my stuff is gone. I need to file an insurance claim. They must have forgotten that we had video cameras, because we saw someone stealing it, and the plates matched the tenant's plates. So, in answer to your question, I don't think it would bring any criminal element or illegal activity or issues with it.
Thanks. Councilor, yes.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out. We get a little giddy at the idea of retail space here, so. I had a couple of questions. Were you going to have 24-hour access to the storage, or is it just during business hours?
Sure. No, we limit access to during business hours. We do make exceptions for some tenants if they have a good reason. It's on a case-by-case basis. It's not something we advertise.
And what about if the partnership with Ace Hardware were to fall through? What other retail businesses would you be trying to work with?
Sure.
Just a business type.
Yeah. So what we're looking at on this, and this is, I guess we've got the benefit or the detriment of our first prospects that we're working on are, this site's been marketed as a retail location for a little bit. So we're kind of working down the list of leads of people who have looked at it previously and shown some interest, and for whatever reason, probably price passed on. That's how we got into contact with Ace. And of course, I really picked up on when the Planning Commission said, we really want an Ace Hardware. We went through, okay, who's shown some interest in this? Oh, an Ace Hardware. That's exactly what the Planning Commission said they wanted. Let's talk to them first. Navy Federal Credit Union expressed some interest in ATM machine here that they might possibly look to expand into a branch. Really haven't gone down that avenue yet because, based on the input that we feel we received from planning committee, kind of thought between the two that they'd probably prefer a hardware store over a credit union. Also from a tax base, we feel that it provides, a bank doesn't provide a lot of tax-based tax revenue. As I understand it, we feel the retail, kind of a walk-up retail would. So that's been one of our things that we've considered. If things with ACE don't work out, then I guess we'll just keep going down the line. This property's been pretty extensively marketed, so I suppose it could be remarketed once I worked out, a price and market with a lower price.
I think the concern would be that we would have more duplicate businesses in that space, and we feel that we've got the financial already covered, certain restaurant types are already covered. So we would want to see something that would bring a little more variety and, needs met for the citizens. So that would be my concern with the retail space. I think Ace Hardware would be fantastic, or, anything in the hardware home improvement category, nursery, something like that would probably do really well. My next question is probably for Ted. How long has that space been for sale, and how many interested parties have not come to fruition? Well, none of them have, obviously, but
A few.
there's been a lot, so I want to take that into consideration also, because it's been sitting a long time.
I don't know how long ago. I think you would probably know that more than me.
The central business district went up in the, 5-6 time frame?
That's when it's been on the
I
market,
think it's been
since
at
those
least 10
buildings
years,
were built, yeah. So it's been at least 10 years, yeah.
The challenge we face in that part of town is that the land and lease rates for structures are equivalent to Bellevue. And that's what's been the driver, and that's why you've seen a lot of businesses fail in the downtown district. They just can't make it. And I applaud Drew for looking at a model that would allow a business that would fill a need, not the only business that would fill a need, but it certainly is a business that we have a hole in our swing in the city, that by going at it the way you're going, you limit their exposure to the overall cost. It certainly provides, it makes your project more attractive to the city, but it also, I think, provides a vehicle for a retailer, whoever they may be, to get their nose under the tent in an area where they couldn't before, just because the price was prohibitive.
I was initially really close to the idea of this and having additional storage, another duplicate business, but I do understand it's a different type of storage facility, but I'm a little more open to it now after listening a little bit to the idea of having retail space on the main floor, in addition to your own retail space. I'd be a little concerned about parking and access. I probably want to say a little more on that, but
That would take care of itself in the permitting process.
so I am open-minded. I want to say that I'm open to the idea, but I wasn't initially walking in there and have the no way, no how kind of thing. But I was thinking about how long that lot has been sitting there and occupied.
It's been at least 10 years.
Yeah.
And to your first question, and I'm not privy to everything that goes on there, but businesses that express an interest that I know of, the ones that Drew named, I know that the owner offered to give the land to Safeway for free to do a neighborhood market, and Safeway declined. So that's not interest, but that's more activity on the property. A couple of the banks, besides just name Federal Credit Union, and the church. The church actually was in, which I think we all know, was in negotiations. And then it's an interesting property. They want to do some cooking, and the sewer is not set up with the grease traps and everything correctly for commercial cooking, which a church would follow, the fire code and everything else. So that was going to be about $300,000 expense that they couldn't come to terms with the owner on how to split that or what that was going to be. So the church also walked away. And that's pretty much all I know. About 3 or 4 banks. The Safeway thing that did go, and then Ace Hardware was very interested. But again, Drew explained the business model. When you're putting a 7,000 square foot store, you don't need to buy all that land. It's just a money drag, so that it wasn't feasible for them to help.
So if we were to amend this, we really wouldn't have any guarantees for what type of a business ended up in the retail space, correct?
I'm going to let Lisa handle that. We actually have a little more flexibility, a little more control than if it's a permitted use. And that's why Lisa's here. She's going to explain the technicalities. But my non-planner recommendation would be a developer agreement, which you could start laying down some serious controls of what was in there. So could we say Ace versus True Value? No. Could we say, you can develop it as such and lay out a retail space? Yes. Types of retail? I think so. So I'll have Lisa address that as soon as Drew's done and we'll let him go.
I just don't want to repeat of what we're seeing on Wilmington. That's all.
Neither do I. I don't want to have vacant space in there.
There is a need for a service that would be a shipping, postal, FedEx, type setup. In order to ship a box, I have to go down to Lacey there to the UPS store or Port Lakewood to the FedEx store to get some of my city paper laminated, those sorts of services, or to have a bulk type of 500 campaign literature things duplicated.
Running again. You're running for something again.
That sort of service there would certainly be.
We have a long night tonight. We have a lot of things on the docket, and Lisa's got some stuff she needs to cover with us. And so I don't want to stifle discussion, but we are just beginning. Drew, I appreciate your time tonight. Look forward to seeing how your project develops, the process. I think you have identified a potential market and a potential product that could work here. And I will be interested to follow this as it moves through the process.
So the second part of the subject, I wanted to talk about the technical stuff, and I'll tee Lisa. Lisa Klein is our contract planner. I think you all met her. She came at least once to talk to you guys. But there's a technical aspect, and the purpose of this meeting tonight, this discussion, is simply to kind of hear from Drew, a developer who has an idea that's not currently allowed in DuPont, and then hear from the technical side of if we were going to proceed down this path, what would it take? And when Drew first approached me, I've said this before, I'll say it again, try to treat people fairly, and certainly the businesses, because we want to be a good place for economic development. And so when somebody calls and says, can I do it? Well, the first answer would be no. I always try to lay out a process and give businesses and citizens a chance to decide for themselves how they want to proceed. So we kind of laid it out. And really the process is, in the end, it's quite easy because of what we're doing, but the process is arduous because it's a Type 5 process that Lisa will explain. And if you're a business owner, there's a world of risk. So no one wants to put down $1 million plus for a piece of land that they can't build on. So I told Drew and the owner of the land, I made a fair answer, and I can't answer it, I can't even predict how this will go. So when we talk to planning commission, when we talk to council. So the purpose is simply for you to see the idea and then talk with us about the technical aspect of what this means and some of the pros and cons and some of the rules that we have on the books. Because not only is the permitting not in place for storage, but we also have in the mixed use a design standard of 8% retail on the first floor or 8% of floor space that promotes walk-up foot traffic. So there's two obstacles right here. And this is why, this is way, way above my pay grade. That's why Lisa's here to walk you guys through this.
Good evening. So as Ted described, we were looking at, well, what are those options? There's a few different choices and ways that we could go about making this type of project a reality. The current issue is that this type of use is not allowed in the particular zone, the mixed-use zone where it's located. Currently, the city of DuPont does have a mini storage type use that's allowed in the industrial district. That's more of a traditional mini storage that also allows some RV, car parking, that type of thing as well. So this is different. And then to be able to apply that here, you'd be talking about a rezone, a spot rezone, and we have the retail component, and that just doesn't seem to make any sense. So the other alternative is to do a text amendment, and that's where you go into the zoning code and where it says the list of allowed uses or the list of conditional uses, you would add this particular use. So in this case, what I would imagine you would want to do is add this type of use to the MXD zone. And then potentially maybe it's a conditional use, maybe it's an allowed use, you have to make those decisions. But you'd also want to define it in your definitions and carefully define it because this is a unique type of a storage. You know, if you want to call it indoor storage, for example, and it just took a little bit of looking, and there are some definitions out there we can pull from some other cities as well. So making a text amendment is something that requires, as Ted said, a type 5 process. And the first step is applicant initiated. With some guidance from staff, they would propose what it is that they want. There would be a workshop with Planning Commission. Eventually, there would be a public hearing with Planning Commission. Planning Commission would make a recommendation to council. And council would make a final decision. So yeah, it is a long process. And then we haven't even started. They can't even submit their applications until council has accepted or approved the text amendment. And then the other step of that is we have to also submit that text amendment to the State Department of Commerce, who has to review it and approve it as well. So there's quite a bit of time involved in that. The developer agreement is also a good option. You might want to consider that concurrent. Developer agreements, they don't take the place of a text amendment because the use has to be allowed. They don't cover, you can't change the use with the developer agreement. So, the mechanism, okay. Well, development agreement is, again, approved by council, must go through public hearing process. It's negotiated. There are terms related to a specific site and development that allows for greater flexibility. That's where you would be able to lay out the specifics of that you want to see happen on the site. If you wanted to talk about specific types of uses, they have to already be allowed in your zoning code, but that you can get more specific in that particular case. Sometimes development agreements will have give and take. There may be some leniency that are provided in other sections of code. There could be some cost sharing. There's some different improvements that are required. So that's where you negotiate the project. Yeah, that's a good one. So then there's another section of your code that is the commercial and mixed-use design regulations, chapter 2570. And in there it specifically says for projects that are located in the MXD zone and the commercial zones, that 80% of the first floor must be retail space. So that's one of the rules that potentially could be relooked at through the developer agreement process. If you need some flexibility, that would be one way of going about it.
What was the chapter?
It's chapter 2570, and I give you the specific 020 3B. And it reads a minimum of 80% of the ground floor space of each building fronting Wilmington Drive, Ross Street, Ross Loop, this is it, the south side of McNeil Street between Center Drive and Palisade Boulevard. Shop consistent pedestrian oriented retail uses for a compatible building use drawing people. Parking would be another thing we'd have to look at. That would be something good for a developer agreement, or you might want to look at a text amendment for parking and how it would apply in this particular case.
So I have two questions related to that. One for you, Lisa. This process, the text amendment process, by the time it goes planning commission, council, public hearing, council decision, Department of Commerce, if you don't run into some unforeseen hiccups, if you have an enthusiastic organization that wants to do this, what's the short side of that process? Are we talking years? Are we talking months?
I would estimate that it can be done in 6 months if all is going well. Now that's to get to the point of council approval. And then once we get council approval, we send it off to the state. At that point, the city can accept an application, a developer application, while we're waiting for the state to approve.
Okay, so now approves, that's the first time you've heard 6 months on the short side.
Probably a total a little shorter, so this is your.
Yeah, I had heard 3 to 4 months, so I think I'm not really surprised with that. 6 months seems more of what I would guess.
So as a developer, and I don't know what relationship you and the current property owner have, but I don't know how this works. Do you have to buy the property and start this process, or do you have a contingent sale based on the process? Because I can see you got to go to the current owner, buy the property, turn around and start this process, and we, the good citizens of DuPont, say, nice try. And then you're stuck with dirt that you can't do anything with.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that I absolutely, positively, 100%, unequivocally would not buy the property until I knew I could develop. I mean, that's developer, that's like before they let you sign up for developer 101. Don't buy it.
Well, that makes sense to me. That sounds like it's probably risk to do it the other way.
Yeah, that's a quick road to bankruptcy. I guess the question comes down to if the seller is willing to give me that amount of time and move forward on that. And that's a question that I'll need to pose to him and find out.
Doesn't seem like he's anybody else knocking on his door. He's been trying to move this for 10 years.
He's been trying to move it for 10 years, and I think he realizes that if it doesn't work with me, it's going to sit as a gravel lot for maybe another 5 years. So, I wouldn't, normally if I was looking at another piece of property, I'm not getting it 90 days of feasibility. I think the seller understands that he's tried marketing his retail, he's tried going down that path. I think he's more likely to give me 6 months and drop his price by half.
Okay. Ted, is there anything else?
No, so I just wanted to sum up again quickly what the type 5 process is. So you have, like Lisa said, the applicant makes the application, pays the fees, there's $3,000 just to get started. On type 5, there's $1,500 from the SEPA, and then associated consulting costs. So if Lisa were to run this, the applicant would have to pay her fees. So having said that though, once, let's say that starts, then there's the public workshop that Lisa was talking about. Then the planning commission has to officially have a public hearing on top of the workshop and then take action to give you their official recommendation, the thumbs up or thumbs down. Then just the vagrancies of how our code is written, and me being a little more conservative, maybe than other people, our code conflicts. And while the state just requires a public hearing, our code calls for 2 if you read it a certain way. So I don't want to get crosswise with anybody, and more the better. So you would have another public hearing, and then you would take a vote on the text amendment. Once that, and there's all the waiting times that she explained. Once the text amendment gets changed, that then frees up someone to make application for that permitted use. And that is the key part, the developer agreement. I would be a strong advocate for that. In my sense is working with Chris, the developers like that because they're surety and they get to participate. So as they make application, we would be getting your, staff would be getting your inputs, and we would be negotiating almost like a labor contract, really. And then you would vote on the developer agreement. And that's how that property would be built. That's binding for both sides. So, yeah, it's about 6 months if we went down this process. And of course, as Drew said, the risk for the prospective business is if it's not a permitted use, they really can't buy the land.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, thank you very much. I wish you well.